Detroit. 1990. While the rest of the world was chasing the neon highs of rave culture, a young man with a clinical gaze was stripping music down to its skeleton. He wasn't looking for a hit. He was looking for a pulse within the wires. This is the origin story of Richie Hawtin, the man who would eventually convince the world that silence was a weapon and that a DJ should be more engineer than entertainer. But this isn't just a biography. It's the story of a ghost in the machine. For years, Hawtin was the untouchable vanguard. He was the outsider who did the impossible. He earned the absolute, ironclad respect of Detroit's techno elite. Under the Plastikman moniker, he turned the dance floor into a psychological experiment with seminal tracks like Spastik. He introduced minimal not as a genre, but as a total disruption of the status quo. It was cold, intellectual, and devastatingly effective. He was the architect of a future we weren't even sure we wanted yet. But here is where the mystery deepens. When you invent the future, you own it. For a decade, Hawtin's word was law. He didn't just play at festivals, he designed them. From the meticulously curated stages of Sónar in Barcelona to the global takeover of his M-nus label, he pushed the boundaries of technology so far that the DJ booth started to look like a cockpit. Whether it was his inter-residency at Space Ibiza or his current Dex EFX X0X live shows, it was always about total control. It was about the ego of the machine. And then, something shifted. The very minimal movement he championed as a rebellion slowly solidified into a rigid, predictable system. The disruption became the formula. The pioneer who once lived on the bleeding edge of the underground began to look like a corporate entity in a black t-shirt. We started to see him more frequently at the massive industrial altars of Time Warp in Mannheim, Awakenings in Amsterdam, or the Sambadrome for Time Warp Brazil. Even as a regular at Amnesia Ibiza or Movement Detroit, the disconnect began to grow. There is a specific, uncomfortable moment in this timeline. A symbolic turning point where the future Hawtin had spent his life building finally caught up to him, overtook him, and left him standing in a booth full of glowing screens, looking for a connection that was no longer there. Is it possible for a pioneer to become a prisoner of his own innovation? When does the pursuit of technical perfection kill the very outsider spirit that made you a legend? We aren't here to tear down a monument. We're here to perform an autopsy on the concept of the innovator. We are looking at the highs that redefined electronic music, from Printworks to Wum Tokyo, and the lows that serve as a warning. This is the myth of Richie Hawtin, a story of how the man who gave techno its brain might have accidentally let it lose its heart. Because in the world of electronic music, the only thing faster than the BPM is the speed at which the future becomes the past.